guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to do an overview of my 108 4.5. A few weeks back I did an overview of the 2.8, the 6-cylinder, the 68 here, and a lot of you like that video, so I thought I haven't done a walk-around video, a detailed walk-around video of the 4.5 and the differences and what I like about the 4.5 over the 6 and vice versa. Getting away from this project for a bit, let's go and take a look at the 4.5. We won't go outside just yet because the wind's kicking up a little bit, and I just wanted to give you a quick introduction to my experience with the 4.5, and then we'll go outside. We'll do an interior overview because it's a bit windy and sometimes it'll get muffly on the microphone. So years ago when I was first here in the States, I saw my dad was visiting from the UK, and it was early 90s, and we were just driving along. It was down in Sonoma County north of San Francisco, and I was always into classic cars. I had a P1800S Volvo, a 65 in England, beautiful car, lovely car. I actually sold that to help me finance to come over here. $6,000 for a 65 P1800S, a little bit more than that now, but anyway. So we were driving along this road and we saw this beautiful Mercedes sitting in a car lot, a second-hand car lot. And it just stacked headlights, big square grille, you know, big grille. It's a beautiful car, sky blue with a cream roof it was. So we pulled over to have a look, and my dad said, let's try and see if we can get a test drive. So at that time I didn't have a lot of money, so I thought, well, what can I, you know, we'll go in and have a test drive. There's no way I can afford this car. So got in it. It was the SEL 4.5 with a sunroof model, and it was in really nice shape. This was in, like I say, early 90s, so it was only 20 years old, you know, which is kind of amazing now. It was a 72, I think. So a beautiful car, and it was really clean, and I was just completely enamored with it straight off the bat, you know. It drove just beautifully, you know, and so I asked the salesman how much. It turned out it was $5,000, which was a lot less than I was expecting. And I scraped and saved and put some money together, got a ridiculous loan and bought it. And that's when my love affair with the Mercedes started. You know, I was so enamored with it. And cut a long story short, up to the present time, this is my third 4.5. I sold the other one, and I had another one in between that, but because of moving over from the UK and various money issues I had to sell them. But now I got this one in 2014. I literally got it on the same weekend as when I bought the 6-cylinder. We went up to get the 6-cylinder, and I was trying to make a deal with this one in Colorado, sight unseen. I hadn't seen it, just a lot of photos. You know, I was taking a chance on Bring a Trailer. I knew what to look for, so he sent me all these pictures. It had been garaged 11 years. So I was pretty confident it was going to be a halfway decent car. It was a non-runner, but it was a fuel pump issue. He sent a new fuel pump with it and a few other parts, and I shipped it out from Colorado on the back of a trailer, delivered by a Ukrainian bloke who wouldn't unload it unless I gave him $200. So anyway, whatever. So let me take you out there and I'll just chat away as I'm showing you as things come to me. This is real sort of, you know, shoot by the seat of my pants video. So we'll just see what we come up with, and I'll show you just give you a little tour of the car. All right? So it's a 1972 4.5 SE model, not the long body, two-tone, which I quite like actually, coffee and cream colour. Quick thing on the colour, it's actually was the like tobacco brown colour on the roof and cream body, right? So I was doing some experiment with painting the sunroof, just getting my painting technique and fussing around a few years back, and I went by the colour code, and it turned out it's cocoa brown is supposed to be on the roof. So this has been resprayed on the roof to the more tobacco brown, which I actually prefer. The cocoa brown has a little bit kind of more like a burgundy colour to it. But anyway, I'm not too bothered about this. That the body shape is in really straight shape. We have a couple of small rust issues, like this one here that someone mentioned on YouTube looked like it's the shape of a dog, which it does kind of look, see? And then this one over here. This one had some filler in it, and then shortly after I bought the car, a deer ran out in front of me, and I hit him. Just kind of clipped him accidentally, you know, and knocked the filler out. So I'm going to take care of these in future videos. This is pretty easy repair actually, so I'll do that and this one, and eventually once the 6.3 project's done, I'd like to give this a good going over, good repaint, you know. So chrome's in really nice shape. This Mercedes chrome really seems to stand up really well. It might be because of the US climate. This was in Colorado for quite a bit of time, but I do think it was garaged quite a lot. So the chrome's in really lovely shape. It's got the bigger indicators. That's the later model. The other 6-cylinder has the more the bullet shaped ones. Give you a quick overview of the outside and we'll jump on the inside. It's got a few dents here and there, and that's because the guy that I bought it from actually had a lot of motorcycles and they were always falling over on it, and the handlebars dent in the body. It's kind of odd. There's one here, let's see, but it's battle scars, I guess. As I say, the chrome's in really nice shape, and this really shows off the lovely lines of the 108 without those horrible overriders that are on the 6-cylinder that I do want to get rid of ASAP. I have a donor car that I'm going to nab the rubbers off so I can do that. Heated rear window, which is kind of nice. So it's a little overview of the body. Overall pretty straight, like I say, a few dings and dents. Underside is very rust free, it's extremely solid. I have a little bubbling rust on this rocker that again I'm going to take care of. It has been primed, so someone was attending to it but didn't get round to painting it up, but I will do that. I've got these badges. My son bought me a few of these badges when he was younger, which is kind of nice. Let's go on the inside. I know you're probably horrified me laying these on here, but this is my daily driver, so I'm not too freaked out about it, put it that way. So okay, what's nice here, I've redone all the wood, all the surround and everything, and all the dash came out really nice. I did the windscreen bow. Could do with restoring the steering wheel. It's got this crack in and all that stuff. Get that redone, make it look nice. Brown leather interior. Also the door cards are leather. Those are leather panels on there, which is I think quite unusual, but maybe not, someone could tell me that. Missing the threshold plates, a common thing with the 108. I would like to get round to doing that after that's been painted. I'll open the hood here before. Anyway, so okay, so we've got very similar dash obviously to the 68, but it's missing that brown strip that runs along here, you know, on the 68 has that. Also the 68 has the slimmer shifter knob. This is the more like the teardrop type one. Much the same dashboard obviously. The switch gear is different. This one's the balancing for the stereo, because this has got 5 speakers in this thing. I think it's got 2 in the very back and a couple on the down here in the wells, and then 1 up there, I think. The light knob is here instead of here on the 68. Also this knob is for the fanfare horn, so it's got 2 sets of 2 pair of horns for city horns and country horns, so you don't disturb people too much. So obviously the country horns are a lot louder. When you pull this, they've got a lower tone, which is kind of neat. This is the rear map light in the back passenger, and vent levers and all that good stuff. This one has the round hazard light. Some of the later ones had a rectangular one. I think that was a later edition. This is a sunroof car, so we've got a sunroof switch here. I'll get to the sunroof situation in a minute. The Becker radio seems to have issues. The Becker radio, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I should send that off to Aaron. I think he's in Kentucky. Aaron, a friend of us on Facebook. I know he restores those old Becker's, so I should send that off sometime. I have done the lever controls some years ago, so all the levers work nicely. I took all that assembly out and re-greased everything. That's subject for a future video for the 68, because those levers on that have broken. Bit of a pain in the butt to take it out, but you know, it's necessary if you want heaters and fans and stuff, isn't it? So cigarette lighter, ashtray, obviously, glove box, all that business. Now, as I say, brown leather interior. Front seats are a little worse for wear, got some cracking and some tears in these, but extremely comfortable. I've got my long armrests here. The window controls are up front here instead of on the driver's side door as the earlier 68. And you have this huge tray area here for bits and bobs. I do actually have the pad that sits in there, which I took out because I find this more practical to throw items in here. Air conditioning, I think it's the Bear, is it air conditioning? I can't remember now. Doesn't work anyway. I just opened a window. I do actually have an air conditioning pump that I in the garage that I need to get around to putting on. A new one actually. So carpets are in really nice shape. You can't really see very well. I've got rubber mats here protecting them. Carpets are in really nice shape. This driver's seat has seen a lot better days, obviously, but this is genuinely my everyday vehicle. I literally drive this every day, and if it was raining or snowing, I'd still drive it. So I don't, I'm not too fussed. I keep it clean, but I do use it. But rear seat is in really nice shape, as you can see. All beautiful leather there. The headliner is coming down a little bit. That needs retucking in. Windshield rear windshield removing for that. Probably sharp-eyed of you have noticed that shirt from Kimmo in Finland, who sent that over very kindly. That's actually one I've got to drop off to someone that he sent it over for. I've got one, and yeah, I get a lot of compliments about those shirts. Very good, thanks Kimmo, cheers. So alright, so also in the SEL models, actually, see that light up there, the SEL models, well, the one I had lights on either side, which was kind of nice. As I say, I've done the wood. Now the sunroof situation, as you can see, I've got the panel out. I've got a heat deflecting thing up there I've stuck up. And I've had a real task getting this darn thing working. It worked okay when I first got it, but it would get stuck and all that. So I've lubricated the cable and gone into the trunk and take the motor apart, lubricated all the gears, cleaned everything. I've just got to get the skids on the track working smoothly. Now, I bought a rear seal for this, and I personally don't think they sent me the right one, because I tell you, the effort it takes to push this sunroof up into position is far more than what the motor could do. So if anyone can give me any tips about that, the seal just seems way too fat, too much pressure to be able to close it. Other than that, I mean, it's kind of cool having a sunroof. As I said before in the previous videos, you do lose a little headroom here to make room for the sunroof drop. It's all trade-offs really, and then along with headrests, it gives it a little bit more of a cramped feel in the car. Yeah, not a big deal, but it really does show when you jump from this car to the 68. That feels a little bit more airy, so to speak, you know. But I really love this car. It's really let me get back in here a sec, hold on. I kind of akin this to a really comfy pair of slippers, you know. It's got tears and dings and everything, but it's extremely comfortable. It drives really well, smooth shifting. It's got plenty of power to keep up with modern day traffic. I don't even have to worry about it. Sure, it's not great on gas, who cares though? You know, when you're buying something like this, you're not trying to save on petrol, are you? Just for reference, in the last video I said, when my son's mates get in, if you were tuned that radio in 1968, you'd have that would have been a year before the moon landings. If you'd have tuned this in 1972, you'd have heard about the Watergate break-ins, wouldn't you? So anyway, let's see what else in here. I think that's pretty much it on the inside. Just like the other cars, you've got this little pedal down here for activating the washer bottle for the windscreen wipers, and it gives a couple of bursts. Obviously fuse box, all that kind of stuff down there. Let's jump in the back and see what we got going on here. This car does have central locking, which is very nice, and it works really well. There's no problem, it works every time. I mean, sure, if the car sits for a long period of time, it might have lost its vacuum, but as soon as you fire it up, it works again. So that's that. Also, the fuel door is central locked as well, which is kind of nice. It's got a little thing here, you know, that still works, so the fuel door locks, which is nice. Let's move these tools and I'll show you into the trunk here. Okay, so just like the other car, this car didn't have, or it had it, you know, the original floor mat, but it was so crappy it had all fallen to pieces. So I got this out of a hardware store, and it has that kind of iron plate pattern, or whatever you call it, and it's grey. It's similar to the grey of the stock one, and it's got a little paddy protection, so it tidies up the trunk. And like I say, this is my daily runner. I'm not trying to make a show car. It's very practical. And if you do have an original mat, it wouldn't be a bad idea putting one of those in to protect it, you know, because those, you know, they don't give those away. They're pretty expensive. So it does have its original bias ply spare, actually, white wall spare there. Take this out. These wells are in good shape down here, if you can see that. At the end of there's a drain hole. Now normally you've got a little rubber bung in there, and it tapers down like a little, to a point. They're very prone to get plugged up. So what I did, I just took the plug out. It's like, it's a big hole, and water drains out a lot quicker that way, you see. So it's got a little tiny surface rusty there, but you can see there, that's better. Bit of surface rust there, which I need to clean up, get some encapsulator on. But that is due to a very poor trunk seal that I need to replace. See the Mercedes sticker there? I think this car was in a wreck where they replaced this panel some years ago. So I've got the jack on this side, obviously. Now this area down here is where the motor for the sunroof is, and also you have, I think where it is now, there's a little nut back here that you have a special tool to manually override the sunroof if it was ever to fail, so you can wind it back manually or wind it closed. I keep this little bucket in there just for stuff so it doesn't roll around. There is the rear mount for the rear axle under that cover plate there. See those tubes there? Now those are drain tubes that go through the bottom of the trunk here out to the floor. Now that is a prone area. If you're looking for one of these, check those, pull the mat back, make sure moisture, they haven't split and moisture has got under the mat into the trunk area, because that can be an area that can rust out on you. As you know before in the other video, these areas are prone to rust. See, still got the original sticker on here, look, see, it's alright. As I say, we've got to replace this rubber, but again, it's something I'm kind of holding off until we get this painted eventually. I'll probably do it in the next couple of years or so. So that is that on the back, double pipe on the back there. I had a little dent here. I bumped into something about 6 months ago. I was a little peeved off about that. Okay, working our way around this side of the car now. Let's say threshold plates need replacing, but that's not a big deal. What we call quarter lights in England, these wind wings in America, they all work beautifully, really nice and effective to bring fresh air in. Nice deep pockets here for bits and bobs. All of the chrome latches, all the plating's quite nice. I lubricate everything, so it does all right. Let's get into the engine bay, shall we? There she is. That's a M117 V8 4.5. Now, my experience with these engines has been really good actually. It's D-Jet electronic fuel injected, as most of you know, I'm sure, and I have not had any problems with this engine. As I say, for 11 years it sat. When it came out, I put a new fuel pump on and a fuel pump relay, went through the whole system, took all the injectors out, cleaned the injectors, upper and lower seals, cleaned all the fuel lines out, the tank, dropped the tank, flushed that out, went all the way through it, and while I was doing that, I filled all the piston, the bores up with mystery oil and let it sit for about a week, let it soak in, right? Went through all that, new plug leads, plugs, the old business, you know, and new belts, hoses, radiator flush, transmission flush, all that stuff before I even tried to start this car. I got everything, I went through it really diligently, right? So I manually cranked it over to get as much oil out of the bores as possible, threw those plugs back in, and after 11 years it took 5 cranks for it to fire up, and of course it was burning all the oil off, so it was full of smoke in the neighborhood, but eventually it hummed, it settled down to a quiet hum, and since that day it's worked flawlessly. I've had a couple of issues. I had a plug lead that was routed round the back of the reservoir here, and I don't know whether heat or the actual fluid had got to it. It swelled up and was arcing, and it was giving me a misfire. And also I had a shift bushing, you know, the gear shift bushing come out, and car was driving fine. I put it in park, went to start it, dead. Anyway, after a few minutes of looking around, I found that the car was still in drive, but it felt like it was in park because the bushing had fallen out. So the car was still thinking it was in drive. So that tiny little bushing, just a few dollars, I was putting that on, and it fired up first time. So radiator's been all redone, recored and boiled, and new stuff in it. That works great. Paint's getting a little flaky underneath the brake booster there. Need to attend to that, as is the paint on the battery side. That's something I do want to get to and sectionally paint that, get that all clean. I'm not into taking the motor out and doing a whole engine bay restoration, but because this has more room than the 6.3, we can get into these areas. I would remove the booster obviously to do it. And what I might do in various parts is replate certain parts just to tidy it up, make it look presentable. I had the alternator rebuilt at Motor Electric for about $100, I think that was. Starter motor, I had that rebuilt for about $100. Other than that, normal oil changes, filter changes, all that good stuff. Let me get that air cleaner off and we'll discuss a little bit more underneath there. Now, before I show you up front, these are the separate horns I was telling you about. See this one here, and then that one there, and then these two. Look, these are the extras put in. I think that was optional extra. And also, while we're here, we got this grill guard. It almost looks like a badge bar. You know, I used to have one on a car back in the UK, but that's kind of different. You don't see a lot of those. I mean, it's okay. It doesn't interrupt the front too much, I don't think. So that's a grill guard. Got some normal pitting, normal, you know, hopefully the wind is not kicking up too much, you can still hear me. Little normal chipping here, again it will be taken care of with a new repaint. Original sticker here by the looks of it. Can't even make that out, something in German. My colour code plates, there's 2 numbers here obviously for the 2 tone car, and then the serial number here stamped on just like the donor car radiator surround. Actually, I didn't think I had that on there, but and then the emissions control plate. Okay, now I don't know about you, but I think that's a really nice looking engine myself, with that air cleaner off, with all those intakes and all the injector lines and everything. I think it's a handsome looking motor. I'm sure you've heard it all before on these V8s. The Achilles heel, so to speak, is the timing chain servicing. So you've got to make sure the old timing chain and the guides and the tensioner are checked, and if you're in any concern about it, just redo it, because you don't want that to go jumper tooth or something like that. This one I have checked some years back, and it was a replacement, and it was completely within spec. There was no slack on it. It does actually have the metal guides in here, not the plastic ones, so they're not a bother. I did put a new tensioner on there, and also another thing while you're in there, and also you can do this on a valve adjustment, is there's those oiler tubes that run the length of the cam. I don't know if we can see it in there. Oh, there you go. See, there's a tube up there. See that tube? Now they are held in on the cam towers with these little plastic clips, and these clips are no money. I mean, just a few dollars, right? But they're plastic, hard plastic, and obviously all the hot cold cycles inside that engine, they have a tendency to get brittle and can break, and so that cam oiler tube can dislodge and come out of position, and obviously will not be oiling the cam any longer, and can do immense engine damage. Again, it's not a hard thing to replace, a very simple thing to do. Take these off when you're doing your adjustment and replace those clips. Also, I think the tube could fall into the engine and give you some heartache, you know. Anyway, so that's that. Again, another issue with these V8s, and I don't think it's just Mercedes, I think some Jags as well, but these injectors on the top of the engine here, both sides, see these fuel lines here with a little injector clip on both ends. Now on some of these lines here, see these ones, the original proper clips, I've got to get round to, this is when I didn't know any better, a few of these clips, these Jubilee clips, pipe clips, they're not really any good because they can pinch the rubber and do damage to the rubber. So you really don't want them. You want these banded ones. All my injectors have the correct ones. See those little hoses there? Now what I'm saying is those hoses, really, if you're new to this car, if you get a new one, or you know, new to you, you should replace those hoses, because if they split and dry and crack out for being in there in that position over the years and leak fuel onto the engine, there's definitely a fire risk, and many of these 108s have been lost to that kind of thing. I say many, but it is an issue that needs to be addressed. So that is that as a quick overview of the engine. I did the water pump once, I think. There was a gasket leak at the back here, and the water pump started screaming and that. So I took all the stuff off the front of the engine actually, and gave it a good detailing. There's a hose here just behind the thermostat that is tucked right in there. I took my time to replace that when all that was out. This is the ECU, I suppose you call it. There's a little basic computer in there to engine management, basically. I don't really have much to do with that because I don't know how it works, but anyway, let's see what else we got going. That yellow line at the back is the vacuum line for the vacuum door lock system. Watch for corrosion in this area, the subframe. That's just surface rust there, nothing really major, but it is a job for the future to clean all that up and get that taken care of. This is a makeshift battery thing. I want to get something nice on that. Maybe I'll weld some nice frame up or something that looks more factory. There's all your relays back there and fuses. oil dipstick and the transmission dipstick back there. No sealed transmissions here. Compared to the 6.3, this is actually quite a, quite accessible compared to that beast. When I was working on this before I got the 6.3, I thought, oh man, look at the size of that motor. But once you see that 6.3 beast, this gets this more in perspective. Coil sits here under a little cover, kind of nice, got that little cover. We've got the engine hood insulation. Now I'm going to scrape all this off one day and replace all that, because you don't really want that falling into the engine and causing potential fire hazard. I have had little bits fall off from time to time, and so that's another job for the future. As far as oil choices, I just use Castrol GTX 2050, I think it is, because I figured, it's an older car, it's got some mileage on it. I think now I do have actually the darn speedo cable broke on me, so actually the speedometer's not been working for the last few months. So I have got a new one, and again another subject for a video to replace the speedometer cable. But this got about 160 odd thousand miles on it, and I think that's fairly genuine mileage going by its history and some of the books that I've got, and that it was laid up for 11 years. So I think a 2050 conventional Castrol GTX, that's what I use anyway. I change it every 5,000 miles, something like that. I'm pretty diligent about that because as I say, I don't want to do any damage to the car. I want to look after it. As far as rust areas, again, much the same as the 6-cylinder, around the headlights, prone for that. Mud gets collected up there, and gunk and moisture sits up there and can cause rust issues there. Obviously checking all the rockers all the way along around the jack points, inside of the rocker as well where it connects to the floor pan. That's something you go knocking around under there, checking for rust. Bottoms of the doors, obviously checking drain holes, make sure they're cleaned out, make sure that we're not like the 6.3, as we know on that rear door, someone had sprayed a bunch of gunky sealant in there and blocked the drain holes. So that's obvious one. And also inner wheel arches, checking inner rocker as well there. The wheel wells here on both sides. This one actually got a really nice trunk lid. You see the black paint, it's in really nice shape. Another maintenance item on all of these cars is also the flexible brake hoses. My mum was driving this car some years ago, and it's a dual circuit system obviously, but one of the front hoses had given out and started leaking, and she complained that the foot pedal was going too far down, and so turned out the flexible brake hose, one had chafed and got a little small hole in it. So those have all been replaced. Again, a very easy job, not a big deal really, they're not very expensive. Also the transmission cooling line hoses at the bottom, they've been all replaced. Oil cooler hoses all redone. Main thing I haven't really touched too much on this is the air conditioning. I'm yet to get to that. In my mind, the 108 is really one of the later, one of the older classic Mercedes that is still attainable. They're not costing silly money yet, you can still find them, but I don't know how long that's going to last. I think the popularity of them is starting to gain in popularity, and so consequently prices are going to start going up. If you can get a good one, I would highly recommend them, because obviously, as you know, the W111 two-door coupe version of this is quite a bit more money, and it's just a question of time, I think, when these start to get more appreciated and prices start going beyond the reach of a lot of people. I tell you what I didn't know, I was taking the bumper off of my donor car and I didn't realise the front bumper was in two parts. You've got a metal support frame underneath the chrome, and behind that plate there is a couple of bolts, and these two break in half, which is kind of nice really, because if this side gets damaged you can replace just this lower section or the top section. It's actually 4 pieces, 2 lower sections and the 2 upper blades. It's kind of a good idea really, so you wouldn't have to replace the whole thing. So this car's been sitting all day actually. I've just used it this morning, and just listen to this. It's just like starts every time without fail. Oil pressure's come up nice, brake light here. Had a little trouble with this brake light going off. I think the reservoir, the little float in the brake reservoir is jammed, because sometimes this stays on and flutters a little bit. Temperature gauge, fuel obviously, clock, and the speedometer here, obviously the gear shift indicator. Just like the other 108s, the 6-cylinder and the 6.3, something to check on these, and as a regular maintenance item is to the Zerk fittings on the subframe and on the rear axle, and also on the drive shaft. There's I think as many as 14 Zerk fittings on the front suspension alone. That needs doing every really 3,000 to 5,000 miles from my understanding. This is due to have it done again, because like I say, this is my daily driver. It's not like I do a ton of mileage, but it's one that gets used every single day. And as far as this is a practical car, I have no idea why someone wouldn't use this as a practical car, day-to-day car. I found it to be rock solid reliable, just like anything else. You know, you look after it and you do your maintenance. The downside, obviously, it's not a Prius as far as gas mileage, but then no one comes up to you with a Prius in the gas station and asks you what year it is today. So, you know, you get a lot of, it's a good conversation starter, that's what I'm getting at. But as a practical daily driver, I have no qualms about this car. Completely reliable. Brake systems, very straightforward, just like on both of the other cars. Very straightforward system. I think from my understanding, someone may correct me, this is the SE model, obviously 4 inches shorter than the SEL, but someone told me that they think the shorter wheelbase versions handle a little better than the SEL. I have no real opinion on that. The SEL is nice for that extra 4 inches in the back. Once you get used to that, it's you know, you're kind of spoiled for room. But I absolutely love this car, and as compared to the 6-cylinder, it's a difficult one. I mean, this is definitely more of a highway cruiser. Comfy, higher speeds, you know, you cruise along all day long, 80, 85 mile an hour, no problem. Very long-legged, 3-speed transmission, fine around town. The 6-cylinder, you know, it can be a little tiring on freeway speed, 70, 75. Obviously it's revving out quite high up there, but it's a ton of fun on the country lanes. You know, it hits its power band, you know, around, say, 55, 60 mile an hour. It's in its power band, it's in its happy place, and it really is a lot of fun. This, I think, is a good all-round car. As far as if you wanted to get into the 108, I think probably I would guide someone towards the 4.5. But if you find a really nice shaped 6-cylinder, don't pass it up. That's what I would say. But I think the 4.5 has a special place for me. The 6.3 obviously is, you know, the one that people really drool over and want, and obviously I'm really excited about the project that I've got going. But as a daily driver, I'm thinking with a steel sprung 4.5 V8 108, I think it's just a sweet spot to be in. I really do. It's got all the looks. It hasn't got the complicated air suspension system that I'm sure is going to be great once I get mine running, but the straightforward steel sprung and with the 4.5 it's just a really nice combination. Okay guys, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed that little tour of the 4.5. As I said in the video, if you are considering one of these, obviously try and buy the best you can. Priority one is rust. Really check that out, because as you know from my videos, you know that can be can lead to a lot of quite extensive repairs, and if you're not up for that yourself, then that could be a bit of a game changer. So if you can get someone to come along with you that knows these cars, or you know, watch some of my videos and just try and look at the areas that are prone for problems. So number one is that rust, and obviously if you can get a compression test done on the engine, and overall if they've got records, that's great. Take the air cleaner off, have a good look around, you know, and you know, ask about that timing chain and the fuel lines. If they haven't been done, if you do buy the car, they should be priority one. Get those done. Obviously the obvious things, you know, brake pads, brake lines, all the safety issues, cooling hoses, all that. Go through all the rubber stuff, and as I say, these are very straightforward to work on. Don't be afraid, because they're really, I personally think, very straightforward, and compared to a modern car, there's no comparison as far as working on them. Be honest with you, you have half a chance of taking something off and not busting the damn thing, putting it back on again, you know what I mean. As far as interior, you know, obviously that can rack up to some dollars if you know, the seats need redoing and all that, but that's your call. You know, you do a bit of research before that. There's plenty of resources out there to do a bit of investigation before you pull the trigger. What else? Yeah, those are the main things. Obviously body, interior, engine, transmission, shifting, all that stuff. I've never had on any of these 4.5s any issue with shifting, gear, transmission problems at all at any point. I've had 3 of these over the years, and I've never had a problem. So maybe I'm lucky, but I think they're very well built. I did a quick story, some of you have probably already heard this, but as far as the subframe, I bought one of these in Pasadena years ago, and cut a long story short, I paid the guy, that was $5,000 as well. That was a nice 71 4.5, no sunroof, MB-Tex interior, nice car, very tidy, but I paid the guy $5,000, right? Downtown Pasadena. I was in a rental car, he was in the 4.5, and he was following me. I was following him, take the rental car back. I was going to drive him home and be on my way. So traffic lights turned red, he didn't want to lose me, he puts the brakes on, the whole front of the car collapsed, and I'm sitting in downtown Pasadena, just handed him $5,000, the front of the car had collapsed on this side, and what it was that subframe, the lower control arm had snapped on the knuckle there. I think I might have told you this story before, so just ignore me if I'm rabbiting on. But anyway, it was a Zerk fitting, hadn't been maintained, so make sure those Zerk fittings and all that lubrication is taken care of. So I think that's about it. I would like to set up a tripod in these cars, this one and the other one, to do a little driving in them. You know, I'm not going to hand hold a camera because that's too dangerous. I'm going to set the tripod up in the back, and we'll go for a little tour around the Gold Country in them. Maybe do this one first and then pull out the 6-cylinder. So thanks a lot for watching, guys, really appreciate it. If you can get an opportunity to buy one of these, you know, I think you should go ahead, because they're awesome cars. So hit like and subscribe and share and do all that business, and I will see you in the next video. Alright, take care guys, have a good one.